Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Tony Rizano, and this is another episode of the world famous, the University Love, the best podcast in 1, 2, 3 galaxies. But, ladies and gentlemen, you and I would just call this show Online Marketing Moves, and we are coming to you live today. Today is Sunday night, ladies and gentlemen. It is Sunday, May the 12th. I should know what day it is. May the 12th. Another week, and I'll be having a birthday. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, more important than birthdays, today is Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, I always laugh. My mom, she would say, what you give me for Valentine's Day? And I would always say, I'm like, I ain't get you nothing for Valentine's Day. What do I look like, And I think Mother's Day, Mother's Day comes around. I have a mother, and now I have a wife that I had to get stuff for. And I'm like, when do I stop having to buy my wife's gifts? When my daughter's old enough to actually get stuff, pay for stuff, or what? Do I have to wait till she's like 18? Like, what's the requirement? Is there an end game to this Mother's Day giving? I mean, I know I gotta keep calling my mom on Mother's Day and saying Happy Mother's Day, but does that apply to your significant other? What do you think? Now I'm gonna keep getting gifts because in the past I love my wife, and she made a good point. In the past, I was accused of sometimes not being coming through with the best of the best gifts, which I can understand because sometimes I can be a little blasé when it comes to all that gift giving and all that good stuff. I am not the warmest and the fuzziest person when it comes to all of that. So, but you know, things are different now. I tell my wife sometimes we have a discussion. She'll say, "Oh, you don't need to see that," and I'm like, you've given birth. We've been in the room with each other. We're married now, and I remember one time I hurt my back. Nah, I say I hurt my back once, and I was like, I don't want my wife to see me looking. I felt like a real crippled old man, And I was like, and I hurt my back when I was picking up my daughter, and it felt like somebody shot me, and I was like, oh shit! And I remember, I was looking around, and I was like, why she got to be in the room, Because you know, when it comes to my mom has seen me sick. My mom has seen me since birth, so it's not like I'm hiding anything from her. I'm her child, so she's seen me sick. She's seen me throw up. She's seen me, all kinds of ways. So I'm just her son. But when it's your wife, when I met my wife, I was 29. Things are different. And then we have a baby, and then so I'm picking the baby up. So you want to kind of look like kind of a stud. So I'm picking a baby up, and I was like, oh, and I looked around. I was like, why my wife got to be here to see me look with back pains and all that? It's like I don't want her seeing me like that. But you see your I see my wife in a whole different way. And we had a baby, she had the baby, and you see her, she's very attentive with the baby, very loving with the baby, explains things to the baby. I am not I try my best, I try my best to explain to the baby. And sometimes I'm just like, just do what I tell you to do. I don't have time for all this. But my wife, she's very patient, she's very loving, and I appreciate that. And so, I joke around about the Mother's Day gifts and all that, but my wife is very loving. She's a great mother, and I'm very proud to say that she's my wife and she's the mother of my lovely daughter. But, ladies and gentlemen, that being said, today we are going to talk about something important. We're going to talk about something. Well, motherhood is very important, but we're going to talk about something important when it comes to marketing, when it comes to podcasting. Now, for some reason, and speaking of my wife, one day we was driving back. It was my dad's 70th birthday, and so we was driving back from Missouri. We went to go to Missouri to see them. So we were driving back, and my wife had been hearing about this podcast episode that Shannon Sharp done with Katt Williams, and so she wanted to listen to it. And I said, it's almost like 3 hours, right? And she's like, "Well, we got time." I said, "We do have time today," and so we listened to it, and ever since then, it's got like 6 to 8 million views, and so um, there's been more and more like sort of like podcast beef, and and it's been 2024 has been a strange year as far as entertainment. Now I do not watch a lot of stuff. I do not hear about a lot of stuff, but I have a friend and he likes to stay up on the pop culture. I do not stay up on the pop culture as much because you know I was thinking about this. I was whenever I'm with my my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, and they talk about where they live and all the things that's going on, and they have a my nephew, my handsome nephew. He's about 7 now, and he's getting more involved into the school, more involved in the sports, more involved into the city where they live, And so I was thinking, and I find myself, me and my wife, we are starting to do more. My wife is, you know, going back to work, and so we are doing more, things of the local nature, because now we have a daughter, and she's going to be going to school, and we're going to be doing. Well, I heard something about girls. I don't even know. Somebody told me that Boy Scouts are no longer called Boy Scouts no more. I had to look that up. I need to look that up to confirm that. But somebody told me that the other day, and I was baffled. But anyway, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But my daughter's going to be involved in a lot of different stuff, and so my life is going to be more not worried about who's beefing with who and all this kind of stuff. So it's going to be more kind of regional, kind of like city, more like where I live, focus, and I think that's good. But I say all that to say I'm not on the pop culture, but one thing that I have noticed, and it seems very, I'll go back to this, seems very pro wrestling to me that all these people all of a sudden start to have beef with each other. And I always feel like there's a phone call. Now, Katt Williams, his interview, he just said stuff that was on his mind. He talked about, somebody stealing his joke and somebody being, maybe when people wearing dresses and all this type of stuff. And I feel ever since then, people are like, I need to get on a podcast and I need to say stuff that is very controversial. I need to say stuff that will, rattle the cages of the people. And so, you know, that that episode of the podcast helped Shannon Sharp out because before I knew he had a podcast for a while, and I'm sure people watched it. But ever since then, you just look could be because now, you know, I am I do podcasts. And so you want, now I know listen, this show is about marketing. This show is we don't do we're not gonna we're never gonna, you know, beef beef with the people, even if it can get me more clicks. You know, I would rather do the old climb up the hill on my own than jump on the back of, hey, let me go beef with this podcast and beef with this podcast. And you see people, and once one thing works for people, then other people try to emulate it. Now more than ever, it's like you see one person create some stupid video, and then you see 1,000 other people doing the same video. They have a bigger following. They're like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw some guy. He made a video. Then I seen another guy under the comment. He wrote this long post like, do not like this video. This guy stole my material. He stole my content. They're always stealing my content. They never give me credit. Blah 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 blah. And I thought, ain't that funny? And and so 2024 has just been, a year of quote unquote beef. I see Kendrick Lamar and Drake, they have issues. And then, the straw that broke the camel's back for me was the other day I saw, you know, Shaquille O'Neal and Shannon Sharp. Apparently, they have some type of beef because Shaquille O'Neal said something about some guy didn't deserve MVP, and I thought to myself, you got to be kidding me at this point. It's like, is it for ratings? Is it for or are they on the phone and like, hey, let's me and you get into it so we can drum up some more because the currency that's very important these days is the eyeball currency. The hey, look at me, you because you want to get more people, and to watch you. You want to get more people so you can get more sponsorship, this, that, and the other. Because it's just the way it is. And so you see all these different podcasts, all these different platforms. These people, they're like, what can we do? And people, they don't want to work hard. They don't, they're like, oh, I would want to work hard. No, they want to turbocharge their podcast into another atmosphere the quickest possible. So the quickest, the easiest way, the cheesiest way to go about it is to get into it with another podcast, because you never want to punch down. If I have a podcast and there's a guy who's starting off and he's been podcasting for 2 weeks, or he has, uh, you know, not as many views, and let's say this is just that they start mowing me down, and one of you guys are like, hey, this podcast is talking bad about you, I don't know these people from a can of paint. So I would go look and I would see, how, I would see what's going on. Are they big? Are they popular? If they're not popular, if they're not big, why would I comment? Why would I? You never punch down. You always punch up, And so I say all that to say it's very easy if you want to get into it with somebody and they have a bigger platform and like, hey man, help me out. Give me some of your views, And people do that all the time. And so if I was you, number one, you should always focus on what you have going on. I would not pay attention to any of these people or the nonsense or the beef, And number two, it's very wrestling like, it's very suspicious. I always tell my wife, I go, why would you be into it with somebody that you don't really know? You don't spend a lot of time with them. Like now, Shaq and Shannon Sharp they have beef over somebody saying that somebody doesn't deserve MVP. It's just weird, and it's like, hey, if you got to keep the ball rolling, you got to. And it's like Shaquille O'Neal. Yes, he has a big name in basketball. He is a Hall of Famer. But in the podcast world, have you ever listened to Shaquille O'Neal's podcast? I haven't. Maybe you have, but I haven't. And so he's like, "Hey, let's let me jump on this. Let me jump on this train. Let's get some more views for my podcast and let's punch up." Because Shannon Sharp, ever since Katt Williams, his 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 interviews get like 2 million, 3 million views at the least, And for podcasting and YouTube, if you can get 2 million views a week, I would, you know, I'm excited when I get I'm excited when I get if I get 5 views on the YouTube video in a day, I get excited. So I could only imagine 2 million views a week. I'd be turning cartwheels around here. And if the more views you get, the more chance you're gonna get for sponsorships and the more money you're gonna be able to get, the more you're gonna be able to, control things, do things, it's just a whole thing. And so the more that you can, let's say, sort of fix up, drum up some beef, drum up some controversy, the better off you will be. Um, so they say. But for you and for me, people that want to do things, I'm not gonna. Is it right to do that? Is it wrong to do that? No, that's not for us to decide. But I will tell you, it's very exhausting. It's got to be exhausting for you to try to keep uh, doing the same thing over and over. You see people to do things to do things, the same things over and over. I see people. It's like a formula now for podcasts. Somebody's popular, or somebody's that's semi-famous or famous. They have a podcast, and then they bring like 3 or 4 of their friends, and then they do a podcast. You see Joe Budden, you see Pat McAfee, and they bring people that you don't know from a can of paint along, and they're like, "Hey, these are my friends, and this is our podcast, and this is what we're gonna do." And now you see everybody. Anytime I see a video, anytime I do any kind of studying on a podcast, or I look at YouTube, or do a little studying on YouTube, look around, because you got to look around, you got to see what's going on. You want to get a feel of what's happening and everything. But I'm like, this is one formula that I ain't gonna follow. This is one thing that I ain't gonna do. It's cool if it's cool if you're like the first, second person to do it. But by the time you get down to the one, if you're the 1,000th person to say, "Hey, me and my 2 friends, we should start a podcast because we're interesting," it's tiresome. It's just like, try to come up with something else. And so my advice in all of this is to say, when you see people doing stuff, and you see people doing the same thing over and over and over, and you see more and more people doing it, do the opposite. Do something different. Go the other way. You don't have to be different to be different, but you know that the beef, the podcast beef, that's gonna get stale. The yelling at, you see, like, I remember a while ago, my friend said his brother like listens to this guy named Charleston White, and Charleston White's a guy. He was an activist in his hometown in Texas, and he started yelling at rappers and stuff, and it worked for him, and he's gotten bigger, and I'm pretty sure that there are other people that have started doing this, like yelling at rappers, or just yelling at people in the hip hop community in general. I'm pretty sure they're probably doing that. I don't see it. I'm not gonna see it. I'm not gonna look for it. But there's somebody that's like, hey, if it works for this guy, it can work for me. And it's like, you can make it. You can always make it. You have to be consistent. And sometimes people don't want to hear that. Sometimes people want the quickest way possible. And beefing and yelling at celebrities and all that is cool and everything, but there is a time limit on notoriety. There is a time limit on that kind of fame, and for you, it's not gonna be long. Okay, so I'm telling you, Drake and Kendrick Lamar, they can beef with each other, and then they can go off and shake hands and kiss and hug and do all this other stuff, and be like, hey, we really had them, but they're still going to be, famous, and they're still going to have the ability to go sell out shows. But for somebody like you and I, if we try to exhaust ourselves while beefing and yelling at people every week, you're gonna run out of people to beef with. You're gonna run out of people to yell at, and it's gonna get tiresome. And people are gonna be like, that is all they do. So you want to get some substance. You want to get some quantity, some quality into your work. Okay, you do not want to always always fall into the formula of what is popular at the moment, because you will fail. Okay, it will run out. It will run its course. And it's cool right now to punch up. Punch up. It's cool right now to punch up and beef and yell and scream at the world and say they're not doing this, they're not doing that for this community, they're not doing that for this community. It's just like right now. I remember a few years ago, it seemed like if you was black, and the thing to do was say, I'm a Trump supporter," and they would give you a TV show. I remember it was these 2 women, Diamond and Silk, And I remember they was saying how they love Trump and all this and all that. And they wound up getting like a TV show on Fox, like a afternoon TV show, like a weekly TV show on Fox. And it's like, is that the move, And you start to see more and more people like, oh, I'm with the Republicans, and they were black. And they're like, are they really with the Republicans, or are they just saying that because they know, hey man, if you say I'm a Republican, they'll give you like buku bucks, And at some point, that's gonna run out, and it probably ran out as soon as Trump lost, And they're like, all right, we don't need you no more. We don't need you no more. And then what are you gonna say? Oh, I convert. I'm back to being a Democrat, baby. Like, no, there's a you ride the wave and then what? You ride the wave and then what? You ride the wave and then what? You ride that wave, the wave is gonna crash out, and eventually it's gonna just be you standing there. So what are you gonna do? What's next? Always be thinking about, what am I gonna do? Always be thinking about what's going on. See what's happening before it happens, if you want to really be on top of things. um as I told you before, I'm not gonna start beefing with podcasts, and I'm not gonna get 6 of my friends up here, and I'm not gonna crack jokes with them and do all this, because that's a wave and all that. But it's not what I want to do, because then it's gonna run out, and eventually people are gonna be like, I don't want to hear 4 of your friends cackling back there. I don't know them. It's like, all right, I don't care about your friends. I want to hear from you. You know, and you know, I think about sometimes like, should I? I eventually, we're gonna have guests and all that, but it's like, do we need guests every week? What kind of guests? What do we do? What say? And it's like, this works. I know this is not. Some people do not enjoy this formula. This me talking, you listening. There's no music. There's nothing. There's nothing to hold somebody's attention. But if you can't keep your attention for 10, 20 minutes, while I talk and upload this podcast, and I don't know what to tell you. And I'm not really looking for people to be like, this, you could do this, you could do that. It works. People listen, so far so good. We're gonna get more people to listen, more people to come in, but we're not gonna be like, all of a sudden just do a whole 360 and be like, nah, we gotta beef with every we're gonna beef with every marketing podcast on the face of the planet. We're gonna get started, and we're gonna cuss them out. We're gonna yell at them, and we're gonna yell at everybody in the pop stars. I'm coming after you, Carrie Underwood. We're gonna start yelling at all these people. No, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna be consistent. We are going to dive deeper into subjects. We're gonna do things like that, and we're gonna keep bringing them into the fold, bringing them into the building. Got to build websites, all that kind of stuff. But what I'm telling you is, riding the wave works for a short period of time, and then what? You got to turn, and then how many waves can you ride? Eventually, you're gonna crash out. Trust me. Don't do it. It's popular right now. It's cool to beef. It's cool to, my friend told me to listen to Kendrick Lamar and Drake, and the only thing I got from it was, I didn't understand any of the sidebars, and I didn't understand any of the hidden meanings. None of that. I got none of it. I was just like, okay, that's enough for me. But yeah, find your own formula, because riding the wave events is just not going to work. All right. And so, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with all new episode of Online Marketing Moves. But until then, my name is Tony Rizzano. Thank you for listening. God bless. And as always, everybody, peace.